Here on the Creative Thinker Podcast, we discuss all theories, philosophy, and thought behind the creative process. And we hope that you find some inspiration along the way. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in, creative thinkers all over the globe. My name is Henry Moon, and I'll be your host. And to my direct left and your stage right is my beloved co-host, Michael Vasquez. Hey, Mike.
Hello. Good afternoon, morning, wherever you're at.
Yeah, these drop Monday afternoon, bro. You know that. Monday,
right.
1 p.m.
Yeah.
Central Standard Time every week. They know that too.
Yes. Good afternoon, Internet.
Today on the Creative Thinker Podcast, can you believe it? You tuned in and that's the show you're listening to. I just want to drop our socials one more time because we just put them out there last week, and we're really thrilled to communicate with you guys every chance we get. So it's at CRTVTHNKR over on Instagram, and then there's CRTV space THNKR podcast, Creative Thinker Podcast, over on YouTube. Check us out over there. Say hello. Say what's up. Anchor.fm/CRTVTHNKR. I'm overdoing it. Come over there and say hello. Leave us a message. Let us know if you ran a campaign in Rowena. Like, shoot us a link to that YouTube.
Yes.
Let us know how it went. We love hearing that stuff. So let us know, man. March is World Building Month, isn't it, Michael?
Yes, it is. So last week we talked about fantasy cities. If you weren't able to listen to that, definitely go and take a listen. We talk a little bit about exponential creation, which we'll talk and touch a little bit on that again today. We talked about some of our cities that we created, kind of from like a flyover view. We talked about 4 cities, 2 that we each created, and then we created the city of Rowena together, this kind of druidic city. So definitely take a listen to that. This week we're going to be talking about sci-fi ships and what that kind of setting is going to look like for our world building. And yeah, as World Building Month is off to a great start.
Yeah, so we're going to go into sci-fi ships, which is going to be different than fantasy cities in a lot of ways. We're going to be hitting on technology. We're going to be hitting on like the crew members and what their dynamic is, where they're getting paid. But again, we're going to be creating from the ground up. So feel free to create a D&D campaign or use this. I mean, we're creating it in a general space. So yeah, it's our idea. But if you build off of it and make it your own, have at it, man.
Absolutely.
That's what this is about. We're here to create. We're here to create together. Live it, love it. Exponential creation, like Michael said, is what we're going to dive into on this episode once again. But I wanted to point out something that we didn't talk about last week, which is that research is so important going into the exponential creation process. One of the great things I think that we did, not to toot my own horn or yours either. That sounded weird. I need a retake. No, okay. So, not to toot my own horn, but we did a really good job of remaining on the same page. We're moving quickly, and it's because we both knew the subject matter so well. A lot of that is from D&D, and maybe a little bit less here in sci-fi. I read a lot of sci-fi. I don't know if you do, Michael, but we both...
I listen and watch a lot of sci-fi. I play a lot of like sci-fi games, so I have a general understanding.
Well, great, yeah. And I did a little bit of research going into this one, especially in reading The Expanse. Which is a really good book. Check it out if you haven't. That's not the name of the first one. I don't know the name of the first one. I got it through the series. Anyway, so that's a bad rep there. But it's a great series. Check it out. He's a really amazing writer, and I really enjoyed it. So I am in the world of sci-fi, and I'm ready to create. But I've done my research. And that's why I'm ready. So if you're going to enter into this process, especially with another human being, make sure you've done something to immerse yourself in the world, something to cover yourself in mag boots and exosuits, and icing somebody out the porthole. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So there's so many. I mean, specifically talking about sci-fi ships, there's so many good resources that you can look at. There's TV shows, there's Star Wars. If you're not a Star Wars fan, Star Trek. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. You can read. There's a lot of sci-fi genres out there. Different books for each age. There's audible books that you can listen to, so you can go on the road. There's sci-fi podcasts that you can listen to. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do your research. Specifically on this topic, we'll be talking about sci-fi ships, but I mean for anything, for any of your writing, there's something out there. I believe we talked about that when we were talking about our breaking writer's block episode, how there are just a ton of resources out there, whether it's Reddit, the internet, spending an hour or two just to research. I mean, sometimes you need to do that, cut some time where you're not creating and you're just researching. It's definitely helped me out quite a bit during my world building, to not feel like, oh man, I'm taking time away from world building because I'm reading some more material. Do it. So then when you come to the world building, especially if you do come together with somebody else, you'll actually be able to bring a lot more to the table, and that exponential process will continue to grow.
I think it's also important that you don't feel inhibited. We talked about this a little bit last time, that you don't feel inhibited by reshaping someone else's creation.
Yeah.
I don't think there's this I can't think of the word, but there's this idea in script writing that you don't submit a script with the actual copyright on the front, because it's insulting to your reader. It's like a pride thing that you come up with an idea that's so original that you're worried people are going to show up and steal it. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is that you think so little of the person reading it that they're not going to at least reshape or find something new and entertaining in your idea. So it's sort of like that when you're out there on the internet trying to find ideas, where it's like they put it on the internet. It's a public space. Reshape it for sure, and make it your own. But don't feel shame that you maybe on the spot couldn't come up with something, or couldn't come up with everything that you needed. So when you enter into this exponential creation process, you're not shaming yourself and saying, well, that is an idea I got from over here. So really, or even slowing yourself down with those ideas, I think is almost as important, if not more important, is like, don't slow yourself down with the idea of shame or disappointment. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. Let's scoot on forward. We're gonna, like we did last time, introduce some ships that we've created, and one of Michael is introducing one that he did for Dungeons and Dragons, and then I'm gonna introduce one that I have for a sci-fi story that I'm actually writing the script for to submit to Austin Film Festival. Shout out Austin Film Festival, and that's one that Michael helped me out with. So anyway, I'm gonna drop a little bit of lore from that story, and that's what we're getting into. So, Michael, can you take it away with, I forget the name of it. Is it Lennis?
Port Lennis.
Port Lennis. Take it away with Port Lennis, Michael.
Right, so,
Camera 2.
There
nice.
We go. So, Port Lennis is a ship that is used in a Star Wars setting. So, this is a Star Destroyer, but is a decommissioned Star Destroyer. It is in an asteroid field or a debris field. Must have been some type of battle that happened here. Maybe this ship got lost and has just been living or stuck here in this asteroid field. But it's been taken over by pirates and smuggling groups. So this decommissioned Star Destroyer doesn't have any type of military asset involved with it. It is all pirates. But it is a safe haven as long as people abide by the rules. So now there is a captain who is in charge of the ship, and it's more like a general manager who allocates certain parts of the ship to other pirates or other smugglers. There's a bounty hunters guild that goes through there, and the one of the big rules is you don't draw weapons no matter what happens. So anyone can go there, and rule 2 is this is a safe haven. So if you're wanted for a bounty, you can go there and be safe. No one's going to touch you because no weapons are allowed to be drawn. And it kind of creates this unique experience of you can get away with a lot as long as no weapons are drawn. But you might be stuck here. So in one way, it's a safe haven. In some ways, it's a sentence to be here forever. The last rule is you're responsible for whoever you gave the coordinates for this location. So if the coordinates become compromised, they kind of hunt you down and figure out who gave away these coordinates. You have to vouch for the person that comes here into this ship. There's a lot of really cool things about this ship. You would think in like a military Star Destroyer from like Star Wars that it should be like all serious, but there's like graffiti along the walls, there's a bar, there's clubs, there's darts that go on here. So it is a very kind of fun atmosphere that's in here. But then as you move up and closer into like the captain's quarters or the command quarters, things begin to get a lot more serious. The pirates that are in charge of this ship, I don't remember the name, but there is one gang of pirates that is in charge, and they're the only ones that are allowed to have weapons on this ship. And that's a very quick, brief summary of this Port Lennis. It is used for my Star Wars campaigns, and I will continue to use it. I used it for a one-shot as an introductory point.
I think what was really cool and unique about Port Lennis was that... Pardon me one more time. Port Lennis was that it felt like you could just as easily see somebody playing arcade games in the corner.
Yeah.
It's like it very much had that feel. And it's interesting hearing you describe it in this way instead of in the campaign setting because, hearing that there's people that are basically sentenced here or stuck here, it very much felt like, you went to a frat party and this is the house.
Yeah.
These people all live here. And it's chill, and you can do kind of whatever you want, but it's also a bar and a business, So it was very lived in and very, very happening, very energetic, and it was that was a cool one for sure. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah. No, I tried to make it as immersive as I could.
Ooh, immersive, nice word use.
All right, so go ahead and tell me a little bit about...
Switching my camera angle, Michael.
Sorry. About Purgatory Station.
People don't need to know that. Come on. All right, so Purgatory Station, again, is part of a sci-fi script that... a spec script, just starting off... spec script might be the wrong word. But it's a pilot. There you go. A pilot script. Spec script is the wrong word. That's when you create a script for a show that's already running that you don't have the rights to. Pilot script for a sci-fi show. So Purgatory Station, it lies between two planets that are the last ones in the system. So the outer rim is stereotypically the most impoverished of any system, and it's because they have difficulty getting the things that they need. The planets become less diverse, and the shipping lanes become longer. So Purgatory Station is the pass-through place between those two almost sister planets, and it is very much created to be a factory space. So not only is it the last sort of left behind piece of the colonization ship that came to say planet number 5, it is as stripped down as it can be. So there's crew quarters. It's almost like a hostel setting. If you sleep there, it's going to be in one of those bunks or it's going to be on the floor. And it's a very communal space. There's very little privacy. Even the bathrooms are sort of like down a hallway. So you have that short curtain that they have in space stations, and that's about it for privacy, both for showers and for toilets. And then there is a huge factory floor that has storage and a lot of vehicles. So like they have forklift races for fun. That's about the only entertainment other than like foot races that they can even manage on this station. There's just not enough room. And then there is one restaurant, bar, coffee place. This is the place that you either get food or liquid, and that's it. And the seating goes up the wall, so you have 2 layers, and that's sort of the less the least amount of gravity on the station, so that it allows people to float around and make use of the different levels. So that's Purgatory Station. There's crime there, but it's not like it's a bad thing. Everybody is scraping together a living. That is the mode of operations on Purgatory Station. That's where they call it that, because people from the inner planets will come out and they know they're going to get screwed 10 ways to Sunday, but they have to, do commerce there, because that saves them the trip of going into gravity of one of these two planets, which saves them a lot of money. So that's Purgatory Station. It's a lively bunch. You're either you're a part of the gang and the goings on, or you're not. And if you're not, then it's sort of like, not kid gloves, but they look at you as a payday. So it's not a very inviting kind of place. And that's Purgatory Station, man. So
solid.
That's a good part of episode 1 of that show is going to take place there on Purgatory Station, as a staging area for the rest of the solar system. So as far as the main characters go, so I'm excited to flesh that out. You have any questions about that, Michael?
No, because I ran Purgatory Station completely different. So I took.
Yeah, you did. Tell me about the difference, though. That was cool. You did run it different.
Okay, yeah. So the way that I ran Purgatory Station, so I ran part of that Star Wars one shot that I was able to run Port Lennis in. I also ran Purgatory Station. And again, talking about research, I did not remember to look at what we had written about Purgatory Station, because I was trying to real quickly get everything else ready for the game. Purgatory Station was more like an outpost that, as you come into the system, if you start heading towards one of the planets, they're going to start hailing you and be like, hello, this is Purgatory Station. We would like to know what your business here in our system is. And y'all had some pretty interesting reactions to that. But the purpose there was, this was a new system, and any outsiders that came in needed to be vetted. And if something was awry, they would report it to essentially the police force here in the Ryoku's system. So that was kind of their purpose, was to be that barrier between,
like gatekeepers almost.
Yeah, like gatekeepers. And so, yeah, that was really their purpose. It wasn't this giant station that was a living station. It was very much like people fly in and they clock in and do their job and then they leave. So it wasn't so much that people were going to stay there. There was planetary travel happening here.
I think that's a cool note. I think that that's right too. That it's a gatekeeping kind of thing, because again, it's where people come if they're entering that part of the system, and it is like the first place. So, especially towards planet number 6. So that's cool. I'm gonna take that under advisement. I dig it.
Yep.
So that brings us lovingly into the arms of our next segment, which is creating our very own ship and crew and sci-fi setting. So what do you want to name it? I always start with the name. I try not to, but in situations like this, I feel like the name is pretty important.
That's a good question. So I'm going to go ahead and reference Fantasy Name Generator again, and we're going to go with a pirate ship name and see what comes up. We talked about Fantasy Name Generator before.
I've got my pad and pen over here.
So we talked about Fantasy Name Generator before. If you're ever having a hard time just trying to think of some names, I sometimes go through Fantasy Name Generator, and it has so many options. You're able to, if you might see a name that you like, and if you click it, you can save it into the browser, or you can just keep on repeating get ship name, or get whatever name, and then you can figure out what you want. The one that's sticking out to me, because it's pirates, so we could do the Crimson Plunderer or the Rovers. It's kind of the two that are sticking out to me. What's sticking out to you, or what are you thinking?
The Crimson Plunder.
The Crimson Plunder.
Drop off.
You don't like the Plunderer?
No, because the Crimson Plunder has this idea of blood almost.
Right.
So I like that. The Crimson Plunder.
Man,
Does that work?
a name says a lot about the ship.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I like that name a lot.
Okay, so we got the ship.
There we go.
Got the
There
ship
we go.
name.
So when we're talking about ships and sci-fi setting ships, with something that's not on here that I'm going to ask you is, what kind of size of this ship? Like, what's the size of this ship? Because in a lot of sci-fi settings, you literally have from like The Mandalorian, where it's, you know, the single, in the most recent season, he's in like a single fighter pilot ship, but the original Razor Crest, it's a little bit of a bigger ship, but it's still very much like a single to maybe 3 or 4 people can fit in that ship. You see when Boba Fett comes in, like they can fit about 4 people, 5 people in that ship as well. But then there are so many like varieties of ships, so you can have anywhere between a 20-person, 100-person, thousands of people ships. So the Crimson Plunder, what is the size of this ship?
I'm gonna say like 20 people.
20 people. Okay.
So it's pretty big, but it's one of those that like it was big in the early days of space travel,
Okay.
and then it's been passed down for a few generations, where now it is been sort of bequeathed to this crew, and so it's an old ship. It's got a lot of character to it, but there is quite a bit of space. I feel like that's a good stereotypical intro to a sci-fi story.
I like that. So, especially saying big in the early days of space travel, I feel like this is an old ship that constantly has problems.
Absolutely. And on top of that, it's also like it's 20 people, but it's very economical with space.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's like a tunnel, like a low G tunnel that you have to sort of like drop through, that kind of space where you're not going to be walking down anything. It's like, it's almost like it's a tight squeeze everywhere except for once you get into the rooms.
Gotcha.
But even in that, it's like you're talking like an engine that has 2 tunnels alongside it that are like body size that you have to sort of push yourself in. Mm-hmm. So to get to whatever it is that you're looking at,
Nice. So even though, part of the exponential creation was, saying it's either going back to something you said and maybe changing it.
Uh-huh.
So it could either be a ship that's, constantly having problems, or like a super heavily modded ship, because we're still talking about sci-fi.
Ooh,
and
yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of settings, like almost like a cyberpunky, where there's mods that you can have to the ship. So the reason that this ship might be lasting is because of the amount of mods that just keep on getting thrown onto this ship. So it's like a smorgasbord of ship and mods.
Smorgasbord of shit on the Creative Thinker podcast today. But
ship.
We have I think that's a good vibe note for the story too. It's like either we're going to be over here where it's comedically falling apart all
Right.
of the time,
Yeah.
or we're going to be in a place where it's like every now and then when it's useful story-wise, then you're like, wow, this ship's old bones.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like we've modded it to the point where, it's still coming apart at the seams. Everything is new except for the ship hull itself.
Right. Yeah.
So I feel like we both tend towards more serious stories. So I feel like that's a good note away from the comedic tone that maybe it was going towards.
Yeah, for sure. Cool.
So I feel like the next question, we've got this ship, and maybe towards the end we add like a ship map, or at least if you're creating it at home, then you would add a ship map or like an idea of what that ship looks like that you could find on Pinterest or something like that.
Yeah.
But I feel like the next thing for sure is like crew.
Yeah. That's one of the things that we have on our next list is crew.
Nice.
So you said about 20 people kind of manning the ship. What does the crew look like?
So I would say there's probably like 8 people on this. Let's say 8. And we can adjust up or down. But it's like it's got room for, it's made to house 20 people, but there's like, it's a small crew in my mind.
Gotcha.
In my mind. And so like you need, okay, so I'm going to use my pad and pen here. You need a patch or a doctor. So number 1, we're going to be Doc. Number 2, you need a mechanic.
Solid.
I'm just going stereotypical sci-fi here. And then number 3 is like you need the, just talking like ensemble cast or something, you need like the emotional center of the ship, which is usually like the person who talks about like like almost a ship therapist. Every sci-fi has one, and it's like they've got a job that's basically akin to like prep work.
Yeah.
So, let's say that there is a general assistant. We'll just call him general assistant. For this. Okay.
I feel like every kind of sci-fi ship also has like the military guy.
Yeah, Merc. We'll just drop a Merc in there. That's number 4. Number 5, we'll say Captain.
Mm-hmm.
Number 6, First Mate.
Yep, that's what I was thinking too.
Doesn't have to actually communicate with anybody. And then we've got like a cook, basically like the food person, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
they keep the plants alive if it's that kind of ship, or
Yeah.
whatever that happens to be. So we'll say cook. And then there's almost always one passenger that becomes crew. So like a stowaway or...
Ooh, nice stowaway.
So do stowaway. Okay. So that's going to cover our crew roles.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm coming about this differently. So if you have like somebody in mind, like if you're character minded and you create somebody and you're like, this guy's going to be on the ship and he's going to be dope, then you can definitely assign crew member roles way later. But to go quickly, which is the theme of exponential creation, I'm just going through the roles that I know from reading. Pardon me. So that's my defense of my list of 8 people on this ship.
So one of the other resources, again talking about research, one of the other resources that I used that I wanted to add into the game, it was just too much for a one shot. But man, I tell you what, if you're making a ship, I would check out. Shout out to Star Wars 5e. So it's sw5e.com. It is Star Wars D&D and the whole rule set for that. But there is a whole ship mechanic by creating your starships and getting kind of levels in what your role would be. And as I look at this, I mean, we're pretty spot on with this. There's a coordinator, a gunner, a mechanic, a pilot, a technician, and an operator, and they all have like different things that they do. So we're pretty spot on with those.
Pilot's not one I thought of.
Well,
That's
captain.
Silly.
Captain,
Yeah,
I would
works.
assume would be like the pilot. And then, everyone, we said the emotional center. That could be, the person who is able to navigate the area. So I feel like, that hits it, pretty spot on. But man, I tell you what, I was looking at this for the one shot, and it was too much to add in for a one shot. But if you want to add this to your story, they really did a good job at flushing this out and making sure that almost everything was explored. You can level up, you can have like more creative things that you can do. Even the ship itself can level up, so that's also another resource that you would be able to look into if you're really wanting to create and customize your own ship for a story. I would definitely recommend using Star Wars 5e.
And D&D is actually the mechanics of it, and like the random generators are super useful.
Mm-hmm.
If you just hit a wall and you don't have like the research foundation or the knowledge or the enthusiasm to create at that speed, D&D is great because you can just have a dice or even a die from like a website that rolls it for you, and you can randomly generate using those a whole story, and then you can build it in after. You can write down all of the components and then just fill in. Like it's a very powerful tool and a good way to go about it too. But let's get into some details here on the crew, huh?
Oh yeah.
So I pull up that name generator because we're going to be using it a bunch.
Yeah, I left it up. All right. So we're gonna go.
Let's start with the doctor. Let's do, just to have some structure to this. Let's do one interesting trait of each of these characters, a name and an interesting trait, and then we can move on.
Good.
And that can be either like a background or like just something interesting about their personality or their physical appearance. Like, let's just leave it wide so we can move quick.
All right, we're just gonna go real quick.
Somali names, doctor. Yeah.
Somali.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's gonna be dope.
All right, we can go Shino.
Yeah, let's do the first one for his last name.
All right, Shino Duel. So Shino Duel. It's so the name generator has real name generators too, I guess, from different areas of the world, as well as fantasy stuff. So again, it's just such a great resource that you can use.
So we got Shino Duel is a doctor that used to military doctor is usually a pretty like a pretty sci-fi thing, and this is like his first gig out of prison maybe.
Okay, yeah.
So let's say like just he's a really chaotic presence on the ship, and somebody that they can't really rely on to be where they need them or to be sober.
Nice, yeah.
But he's the ship doc. So let's see. So I'll put Fresh Con.
Fresh Con.
So I write notes weird. It's just I don't write notes a lot is the thing. If I knew for this, I'd need to remember.
All right, so we got our doctor. Let's head over to our mechanic. So I looked up elf names.
Oh, nice.
Why not? Here we go.
What do you got, Michael? What do you got?
Fallon Omisis.
Where is that?
Oh, right here. Fallon Omisis.
Omisis. Okay.
All right, so Fallon, he's the mechanic, but his weird quirk is he hates being dirty.
I like that. Okay, neat freak.
Oh, what that makes me think of, again, talking about God of War, hates being dirty. There's a character in God of War. Spoilers for God of War Ragnarok. There's a character who he is a forger of weapons. So his work is dirty work. He's smithing. He's getting oils. He's always got a hammer on him and making and creating, but absolutely hates getting dirty. So as a main character, Kratos, you are constantly covered in blood, and every time he goes, he's like, wash your hands, please don't touch that, please don't. Oh, now I need to wash that. And I feel like that's kind of like the same characteristics Fallon would have. It's like, wait, no, don't come in here, oh, wash your hands, do this, or wipe your feet, put the little little foot
foot bath.
No, not foot bath, like the things that you put around your shoes when you have to go and look
like
at a
booties
new house
or whatever.
Yeah. I was like, put those on. No, you can't come in here unless you put those on. I'm not gonna fix the ship unless you're clean or something like that. So I think that's kind of his weird quirk.
Maybe we call him Omi for short.
Omi.
Yeah. Omi. So we got Shino, we got Omi. Let's talk about the general assistant, the gristlicious sweet center of this crew.
We're gonna go with a.
Let's do like ogre names, like something really aggressive sounding.
Ogre. True Coog.
Maybe less aggressive. We gotta go.
Irock.
Ooh, Varuk.
I
like Varuk.
There we go. Varuk.
That's a good last name.
Varuk, the what? The general assistant?
General assistant.
So autocorrect is definitely having a field day with
these names.
Yeah. Varuk, it autocorrect, it's a virus. And what's his weird trait?
I'm gonna say she for that.
Okay.
That's a good she role.
Cool.
For guys who can't write women.
Cool. So what is her?
Let's do that last one. Urug.
Oh, for the last name?
So
Ourug. Is that what you're talking about? Oh, what?
Yeah, let's just do Rourug. something, some letter there.
G.
Urug?
Arug.
Varuk?
Farouk.
Arum.
Arug.
Let's do an N.
Arun.
Arun.
Sounds good.
Double dot that U. You know what I'm saying? Arun. Varuk Arun.
Varuk Arun.
Varuk Assault from Charlie Chocolate Factory, right? I think that's... Anyway.
I don't know. I haven't watched that. Another movie I just never watched.
To heck with that. It's classic cinema. Get out of here. Okay. Okay, so Varuk Arun, what's her thing? We've already got Clean Freak taken. Let's see. Maybe like scarring, maybe like some interesting dress. Maybe she's from a certain culture that we don't see very often. Maybe she's a different race. Sci-fi has differently like an alien race.
Yeah, like an alien, almost like an orc kind of race.
Yeah. Like, have you ever seen the Orville? Anybody who's listening who's seen the Orville knows exactly what I'm going to say. Like that fighting race from that show. It's did you ever play Mass Effect?
No.
Oh my gosh, all of these references lost.
Sorry.
It's those aliens that have almost like fingers coming back of hair, but it's like flesh.
Okay, yeah.
So anyway, one of those.
Gotcha.
We'll name that in a different episode. Lol. So, it's just like a Spock character almost, where it's like foreign and out of place, and this is like our cultural experience all the time. So, we'll just say foreign.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
All right, then we're gonna go into our mercenary. Bounty hunter names. There we go.
The Expanse has a good iteration of their merc person. He's just like an incredibly caring person.
Oh yeah.
About the people around him, and then like, you know, you just see him brutally murder something. Cool. And then he comes back and he's just like very kind and caring. So what's our merc name?
We're gonna go with there's literally Dragon is one of the names that came up. We're gonna go
Dragon.
Dragon?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna go Dragon.
And like maybe he's a one name person.
Yeah, let's just do
goes
Dragon.
by Dragon.
He is the Dragon.
What's his interesting quirk? Character, dress, any of the things?
Character, dress. Okay, so he's gonna be like a military guy, right, or some type of mercenary. So let's say he's kind of got a burn on one side of his face that covers the ear.
And maybe he's got like some weird ritual before going off the ship, like how basketball players have their bouncing of the ball ritual before they shoot free throws.
Yeah.
Like what's his basketball ritual?
Oh man, what's like a nervous tick that you have that you do?
Well, so it depends. If I'm trying to get focused, I'm trying to stop having the monkey brain, if you want to call it that just causes havoc and keeps you from focusing. I'll count down from 5 and say like, okay, I'm going to be ready. 5. So like, I'll just be pacing, tapping my foot, whatever, just like nervous wreck, anxious, hard to watch, hard to be around. And then I'll count down from 5, but I have to do it out loud so that I hear it. So like maybe he's just like super anxious and impulsive and like trying to find any way out kind of deal. And then like as the door is going down, he counts 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The door is open enough to shoot through, and he's like totally in the zone.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds down.
Nice. Okay. So super anxious is what I'll put.
yeah, super anxious. Man, my words. Cool.
Anxious.
So then we have our Capitan.
Yeah, Capitan. Let's just do like a super vanilla name.
All vanilla.
Do they have like white guys born in 2005 name generator? Brad.
We can go real names.
Do that.
Is American on here? Nope. Go royalty names. Let's see what happens there.
That's enough.
That is not.
Whoa. Donald. Quebecan.
Oh my god.
Kalapap.
Say that first one. Say the first one.
Juanjing. Bin Salman.
All right.
Bin Salman.
Those royal names are a little much.
These are wild, dude. This is a podcast only about names now.
Right. Yeah, we're just gonna go through and just make fun of all these names. Oh, look, Americas.
There we go.
I was in the Africa tab. I didn't
Oh,
notice
well,
that.
there we go.
Okay, so now we're gonna go just regular plain Jane American English names. We're gonna go
Kai. There we go, dude.
Kai
Cook.
There we go.
That.
Sorry, Kai, if you're listening.
Yeah. Get a less vanilla name, Kai. Sorry, dude. Sorry, bro. Sorry,
Right.
bro. Come on, bro. Kai. Okay, Captain Kai.
All right,
Captain Kai. His trait, past historical. Maybe we haven't done a history one other than our jailbird Doc.
What if he's just? Oh, what?
What if he lives up to his name?
So I'm no. I'm 100% gonna steal this from a podcast I've listened to, and if you know what I'm referencing, hit us up.
What podcast is that?
Oh no, I'm gonna leave it to the viewers
yeah.
or listeners to figure it out. So
Vibe a little.
what if the captain in whatever like the first part of our story, his brain got taken over by a creature that has no idea about humans or humanoids and has no idea what's happening, but is trying to fake it to like get along. So like you get introduced to like this like captain. It almost looks like the mercenary, like this grizzled old dude who's hard on his luck and like an outcast from the military, and something happens, hits his head or whatever, goes unconscious, and then when he comes back, it's just like super unaware of what's happening and is slowly trying to figure out like even just how to use his body. But he's the captain, and everyone still is like, "Oh, this is Captain."
Like he's 100. He's like 90% spot on with what he's doing, and there's 10% that's super strange.
Yeah.
Nice. So possessed.
Yeah. We can say possessed. That kind of takes us back to maybe a comical theme.
Yeah. Like maybe he just picked up a new crew entirely, and maybe we don't know the history of this ship.
Right.
But it has a lot of upgrades and strange things that make it unique, and that speaks to what it looks like a little bit too. I think maybe it's got some alien tech on it that's like just people aren't sure what the function is, but the captain assures people that they need it.
Right.
We're going to get into kind of what the vibe of the ship is here in a little bit too, which I think this speaks to quite a bit too.
I feel like you have to have your ensemble before you can really hit a good vibe of the ship. Because like even when we were starting, we're like, okay, maybe this is going to be a more serious tone of whatever story we're going to tell, and I don't know, I like the comedy element of it too.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's definitely leaning that way. But so like first mate, cook, and stowaway, I think I'm gonna cross that off the list just for the sake of time. Unless you're really hyped on.
I would say let's hit a first mate, and then the rest, we can kind of wing it and just say like, the cook is going to be, your average, just like kind of listen to what's going on. There's nothing like really weird about them. As your story progresses, like the interactions with the first couple of characters that we've listed can kind of create what the cook is, and then the story will create what our stowaway is.
Unless you don't mind going super long on this one, I just figured.
I mean,
I know Stowaway is going to be an interesting character if you include it.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe people will be disappointed if we take that out.
Let's, as we start talking about the ship, let's say like, Stowaway, we'll add Stowaway at the end and see like, what is our Stowaway character? Nice. Now that we actually know the vibe of the ship, the technology, kind of more of what the ship is about, then we'll go back to our Stowaway and we'll see like, hey, why is the Stowaway interesting? What is the Stowaway running from? Why did they end up being on this ship here, run by an alien, essentially?
I like that. All right, who's our first mate?
First mate.
Oh, that second one is dope.
Poppy Moss.
Poppy Moss. Can it be Poppy Moss? Can we use that one?
Yeah, heck
okay,
yeah.
Sweet. Poppy Moss.
All right, first mate.
I feel like another female character.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking too. So Poppy's the one fielding the questions from everyone and has probably like been with the captain and like knows and under. What if it's like someone who just wants to like just seeks the approval of the captain, and
Yeah.
like that's all she wants to do is just like seek his approval or I guess seek the approval of people and others, but like getting
very intense.
yeah, and like getting a good word from him, it's like, oh man, that made that day. We've all had like managers who like never say anything good about you, and finally, whenever they're like, "Good job," you're like, "Oh, my whole day was just made. My heart feels better. I feel like it was worth it. I got told good job."
Yeah, absolutely. A bit of a suck up, a little bit intense,
Yeah,
and a little desperate.
and she's willing to like oversee the weirdness of the captain that's happening now as he's been possessed, still trying to like seek the approval.
So she's got to be a bit of an oddball then. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, nice. Okay. So I feel like, okay, so from our first few characters, we got 4 guys, two girls. We're stuck on this a bit odd Crimson Plunder. And that brings us to our next topic, which is crew dynamic. So I think we touched on that a little bit, but just to make it super clear, because we just went through a bunch of characters. The first mate is really the one who's in charge, because we have our captain who is only doing about 90% of what they should be doing, and is just a little bit strange the rest of the time. So Poppy Moss is the one that's I can't say without laughing.
Right.
The first mate is fielding all the queries from the crew, is making sure that we're on time and headed in the right direction, making sure everybody's doing their thing, making sure Shino Duel, the doc, is where he needs to be doing what he needs to be doing, which Shino Duel probably takes the most of Poppy Moss's time. So I still can't. I tried. I threw it in there, so I was like, I'm going to say it without laughing this time. It didn't work. So that's sort of our power dynamic. The captain is sort of a wild card, but is the final voice still. And I find if we're adding comedic elements, I would say that he takes very strong stances, but it's almost like he agrees with Poppy Moss almost all the time because he feels like that's the stance he needs to take.
Yeah.
So it's like no matter what he says, when she follows it up, he agrees with her reframe more than he agrees with what he says to begin with. And so that's kind of the power structure. And then it's like everybody sort of complains to Varuk, who's our coordinator, and it's almost like she has the ear of the first mate, but that's it. And it's very much like that's not a power role, so we have some conflict building there. Our mechanic, I would say, or our merc, one or the other, maybe has, I would say like the merc maybe has a relationship with the first mate, and our mechanic and our coordinator maybe.
Okay.
Just to kind of, I don't know, make some connections, and say like maybe there's like some potential for romance there. And I feel like that kind of creates the crew dynamic of like there is friendship because they're trapped in this pretty small tight space ship, but there's also frustration with each other that's you're able to bubble up pretty much any time. And we establish the vibe a little bit, which is like a little bit humorous, so maybe like a what's the name of that show? That was a bad one for me to highlight if I can't think of the name of it. They just put it on Netflix and everybody complained because it was an anime first.
Cowboy Bebop.
Cowboy Bebop. So kind of like that, where it's like it's silly, but there's also a very serious undertone to it at all times. So that's kind of what we're building. That's the dynamic of the story, it feels like. So what do they do for money?
So obviously we have a mercenary on board. So maybe they like run like some smuggling jobs, because everyone here is like not official. They're all either the outcast of whatever organization they were on before. So we'll say, they run kind of odd jobs. Every now and then there's a bounty, bring in alive, because if it's a dead or alive, they're like, nah, we don't feel good about that. We'll just take in, someone who's like run away, or more so like we're looking for someone who's lost in the galaxy, or like who ran away from home or something like that.
But it's not that because the ship is moral in any way. It's because it's a small ship and they don't want to smell the body for the duration of the trip. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there
like
we
it's
go.
Gotta be,
there we go. There we go.
It's got to be like not the reason you expect. It's got to be just like ship complaints
Right.
have led to like the captain is like, no more. We're not doing this because the first mate has said like it stinks. And he's like, what should we do about it? I don't think we should take any more dead bounties. And he's like, 100% I'm in.
Right. There we go. I like that. So would you have any other ideas too of what they could be doing for money?
I mean, I feel like sci-fi is so hard because the sky's the limit. Like, even things like if you're transporting people, it almost becomes like it's part mercenary, it's part Uber, and it's part just like exploring places to get items that people lost. You know, it's like, well, what can I pick up for you? So it's like Uber Eats, but for like whatever people want.
Yeah.
Uber and Uber Eats. That's what this ship does.
I love it.
So it's like, yeah, they're delivery people in any capacity. Is my thought.
Nice.
So I think some low level politicians, some low level.
Right.
What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say it would be interesting if like one of the characters does some type of like office work from the ship, whether it's like like transcribing like audio stuff that happens, or it's like trying to be like or do like a what is it? Not retail. What's the housing? Buying houses, selling houses.
Realtor.
Realtor. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like one of them's like trying to become a realtor for whatever planet.
What about like news podcast, like a newscast too?
There we go. But it's the one that you wouldn't expect. It's our mercenary. Our mercenary does the news podcast.
like those I'm selling things on Facebook.
Yeah,
that kind of thing. Like he just gets like jewelry dropped off of the ship, and he's like, "Yeah, here's your nice 3-carat diamond. That goes well with this color."
Yeah.
Like, yeah, okay, I'm in. I like that.
Yeah. I think that like that's gosh, this character.
That's the anxious character.
That's the anxious character. Like this is what he does. Like he hates combat so much, but like that's why he has to do the countdown. But he's good at it. Like he's always been told like, but you're so good at this, and he's like, but I don't want to do it. But he's believed the hype for so long. So whenever the ship comes down and it's like the bounty or whatever's gonna happen, he's like, or has to defend the ship. He's like 5. Okay, here we go now. And then does his thing, but the rest of the time he's like, this helps my anxiety. Like, I really enjoy this. He's not very good at it. And of course, people don't want to buy from him because it's like this grizzled old guy. He's got a scar. He's got half an ear missing or something.
And a flop sweat.
Yeah, he's this like giant bulky dude. He's like, would you like to buy these gems that I found on this planet? But it's just like scraps.
I like that a lot. So that's our merc. Getting less scary by the day.
Yeah.
Like maybe somebody they're chasing down recognizes him, you know what I mean?
He was like, hey, didn't I buy that like bed from you? You're like, oh my gosh, yes. How's it been? Like, it was for the finest linens from this planet.
I recognize that double-breasted suit. Wait, did you buy that from me? Takes it from him to resell.
Yeah. He's like, sorry, bud. You're the bounty.
So, okay. We're clearly enjoying our idea too much here, but like, okay, so that's what they do for money.
Exponential creation.
There we go. Yeah. Just get to a place where you're just loving your time, and that's where we're at. It's great. But the next thing we got to dive into is the technology. I tried to say so many different sentences there. Technology they use and what their resource situation is.
So,
like, what's a fun sci-fi always has these great technological advances and like just jumpsuits you can play with, exosuits. Like artistically, it's cool, but also it leads to a lot of good story beats. So I'm like, for me, always having like jetpack boots, almost like a way to fly that's just your feet, is like my go-to sci-fi thing. I think that's so fun. However, we don't want to just beat to death my ideas. Let's create something together, Michael.
Okay. So let's try and think of like the technology that's around there. So I mean, like, yeah, you would think, just kind of useful stuff that you're gonna need. The boots, some type of, magnet boots to like do service around the ship, to add stuff on.
What about like a diaper that everybody wears that just has like, that is the compartment, you know what I mean? Like that's how they do their bathroom stuff. They just hook up this like loincloth looking thing, maybe. Like,
it's funny you say that. I read something about how it's difficult to use the bathroom in space, and how there have been many different iterations on like ways to do that because gravity. So yeah, that would be an interesting one. Some type of diaper or technology that people just wear that absorbs the stuff.
The good bits. Absorbs the good bits. So that's one thing. And then also like
what if there's like a pill that they have to take that kind of like prevents them? It kind of like keeps them constipated. So like you don't do anything in space until you get to the planet, and that's when you do your business.
If we're leaning into funny, right? Like that's a good one.
Well, I mean, I guess not even
it's
like
a good
not like
like
constipated, but like it whatever it is that you're taking, it kind of just takes away what you need to do. Whether like dissolves or something in your system, you just don't have the need to do it.
Yeah, like it just absorbs.
Yeah.
Nice. And they also transport people. So like, what is it that helps them transport people? Like, do they have a stasis pod? Do they have something that they just like maybe they have a cell, but it's like this ship used to be really fancy at the time, so it's like there's a TV in there, and like it's a play space for like little kids or something. Like what is their unique technology that they use to capture people or keep them captured?
That is a good question, because you want to think of like, okay, what's been done and what can we kind of improve on? So there's like what is it? The carbonite from the Mandalorians that they tend to do. There's a lot of stuff that you can take from Star Wars, as far as like energy fields or any type of like ray fields that they can be in a cell or a room. And there's these makeshift like ray cells that kind of prevent them from getting out. I think those are the two that kind of really go straight to my mind. Just regular cells, like jail cells. What if like, we're kind of going into, it feels like we're kind of going into this like humorous type of story. What if they treat their captives like very nice and they just have like shackles on them and that's it?
What if, here's something I've always thought about space travel is like, they capture somebody and then they just sort of blip over the travel and say, well, light speed, now they're there.
Right.
So what if instead of that, we say it's actually a really big occasion anytime they get somebody new on the ship that they actually just want to get to know them. It's like they've got like a 5-course meal, like a fancy dinner.
Yeah.
It's like everybody dresses up. They've got them in the galley and they're like, well, tell us about like your life. Tell us something new. Like basically they're looking for entertainment and to get to know this person and like, try to build relationships with the people that they've met.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty funny.
I think that is funny and also like terrifying as a captive of everyone. Be like, it's a feast. You're like, what is about to happen? Like, I have no idea. This is not a good situation.
Like, just you're stuck on the ship with 8 people who are really excited to see you, even though you're a criminal running away. Like
these guys literally just captured you somehow, and then you get on the ship. You're like, how did this happen?
I like that. Solid. I think that works. We've got enough good story beats from that.
Right.
This ties in a little bit to what we just talked about, but what do they do for fun on the ship? So let's say if it's not a captive, it's just like a regular day. Mm-hmm. What are they doing for fun?
So I mean, I like in when we talked about Port Lennis and like something you said, like you feel like people could get like video games or arcades set up. So what if they have like a collection of arcades, like the actual arcade game, and like their goal is to be the next highest score, but they're all bad at it. And so it's like, it's not really hard to get it, or every time they get a new game, like they just play it to death.
But kind of like a VR thing where they're just all like maybe have the same avatars or something. Every time they play, and it's like, like the doc plays a woman or something. You know what I mean? Like there's just other jokes in there.
Yeah.
Visually, and just they can, I don't know, have these big hulking video game characters and like be sat in front of this tiny board game like checkers or something. Something that's super like technological for them to do, but they have to. It's like really not technological to play. They just don't have it on the ship. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it's interesting. I think what we talked about earlier is like how they have the chutes that they have to like maneuver. Like there is a path that goes around the ship, and it's like kind of a big deal if you can go all the way around on like one push. So like that's their fun thing to see like how far they can get. They're like, all right, Verik's gonna attempt it today. He said he's gonna do it, and Verik, she said she's gonna do it today. Like she's gonna do the one loop. Like it's like, oh, can she do it? They even get the captains to try like, hey, okay, so one push, go all the way around. Like I don't know, something dumb, because like when you're isolated in that space, you feel like you have to anything can be entertainment. And I feel like that would be something. It's just like, it's just simple and dumb. Like what are the things that we did as kids when we just had, our rooms or whatever with a couple of friends? Like what did you do to have fun? You played around with your toys or whatever. So that's why I was kind of thinking like, what's something simple and dumb? I know like as a kid for us, our driveway was slightly angled down on a hill, and we would get on our scooter and see how far we could go down without pedaling on our hill, and just using that in the wind to try and like going down like slowly down the slope of the road, and then coming back up and then going down. So like it was really actually a big deal to like get all the way down to the other side of the neighborhood without pedaling, without using I guess you kind of used your hand, but without putting your foot to the ground. So that's where I kind of got that idea.
Yeah, no, that's a fun idea. I like that. I think that works. I think that's a good one. And I think it was the other thing I was thinking about was like how they have those safety bands for spacewalks, and how like if you like they have magnetic connections, and it's like if it's broken, it becomes useless, but you don't really throw anything away in space.
Yeah.
So like what if there's some like little magnetic reflector that they sneak around to each other's rooms, and it's like that person has to like, I don't know, put on the entertainment for the evening. It's like you have a 1 hour where you're in front of everyone and you're supposed to entertain them. Everybody's got their thing that they do. But it's like, it's both a good thing and a bad thing to receive it. And so it's like you walk into your room and it's like somebody put it there when you weren't there, and you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
Like, it's my night now. Like, I don't know, like all those things. It's like they have, it's almost like they're not pranking each other, but it's like these inconsequential but fun acts towards each other, like the race around the ship. Like,
and I feel like we're even creating the vibe like this. It is like almost like a comedy that we're creating, but it's like at the same time, these people have such a close-knit bond that if they are ever, going and trying to grab a bounty, like they know each other so well. Like they know each other's stories because of how many people have been doing entertainment. So, Kai Cook, the captain, we'll say Poppy Moss. Poppy Moss is the least observant out of all of them, but they know her story. They know everything about her. So even though they're like, you're kind of dumb, you're always trying to gain the approval of people, but you're our dumb one. Like we take pride in you, and we can make fun of you, but other people can't make fun of you. So that it really creates this tight-knit family with kind of the stuff that we've already created. And I feel like any type of captive that comes on their ship is gonna almost instantly realize, like, what is this family doing capturing me? You know, this, you know, again, smorgasbord of people.
Like almost a Midwest family, but in space. Like,
yeah.
Like that's why I think the what do they do for fun is such a good question to ask about any story, because it's like, you know, we just made so many really wholesome fun that this ship is doing, and it's like they're mercenaries and like travel people, or what, like Uber drivers more or less, and it's
Right.
like, but they're all in there together, and it's like, I don't know, that makes for such a fun story.
Yeah, and that's why like they get recommended from, you know, like the lower politicians, because they're like, well, they actually treated us like really nice and like treated us like we were almost royalty, and we were like a governor of some city that just needed to go to another planet or something.
Like if you're going to be 2 weeks in space, you want to do it with people that you're so comfortable with that the time flies. It's
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I'm looking forward to the next visit. It's like just going to see family for 2 weeks, you know?
Yeah.
Almost like a vacation. Yeah, that's dope. That's dope.
Cool. So I think we had, you know, 2 more points: who's in charge and reputation, and I put reputation in the galaxy.
Yeah. And who's in charge is almost like we sort of did that one already.
Yeah, it's a little bit of captain, more so first mate.
Yeah. In my head, it was going to be like who's running the ship, or who's paying for them to do stuff. But we talked about at the beginning, like it's kind of like a hand-me-down ship, and it's almost like maybe they bought it used somewhere, but it's theirs.
What if the captain like inherited a bunch of money, but like doesn't realize, because they're in this like possessed body, they don't realize they like where they're getting all the money, so they're taking like these low bounties, but they're still making like a stupid amount of money to make sure they have everything. This inheritance has them set for life, and it
Like
continually,
the whole crew. Yeah,
it
they could go their
continually gets
separate
like
ways,
added
even.
into their like pay, but he doesn't know like how to pull it all out because he doesn't really understand it.
And he's actually like a really important person, but that's part of what he forgot.
Yeah, exactly. And as far as the reputation of the galaxy, I feel like we also touched on that. Like this is the wholesome group. Like this is what you watch your TV shows about, like back in the day, where it's like, I mean, they're kind of swearing and stuff, but for the most part, they care about everybody that comes on the ship. Period. You know,
It's almost like this is a Modern Family style sitcom that we just made, but in space.
Yeah.
It's like it could definitely be a serial show like that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, dope. Thanks for coming on this journey with us. I think we can wrap out there. That was pretty great. Like,
Yeah.
And that was wildly different than our fantasy city of. Wait, I got it on the same piece of paper. Roween. Yeah, I know.
If you missed the tip from last episode, so fantasy name generator, or just look at some random objects that you have and turn the word backwards and then come up with something. And so that's where we came up with Roween from
Newer. The discount audiovisual products, which anytime you look on Amazon, you'll find it. But yeah, so it's right in front of me what we got the name from, and I had to look at my notes from last time to find it, like an idiot. So
Yeah, that's good.
Anyway, so yeah, it's way different than Roween. And anytime, I won't say anytime, but I would say like most times, even if it's back to back, even if they're close together, if you enter into this exponential creation method of like just asking questions about what's in front of you, you're almost always going to arrive at something totally new and totally different.
And like our vibe was super kind of, we didn't intend for it to be goofy. We even talked about like it's going to be more serious, and then it was a little bit goofy. You don't got to stick with that vibe. As you started it, like we're just throwing stuff down, and if we wanted to create this story, maybe we change it and it starts off a lot more serious and then slowly turns into this comedic element, or maybe you just cut it. You're not a comedian. You can't hit those funny story beats. So then change it to being more serious and more, grueling thing. You have the names. That's sometimes the toughest part, is the names and their kind of weird characteristics or their weird quirks already. Because I know there have been times I throw stuff down and then I'm like, man, this is not at all how I'm gonna run it. But I'm glad I put it down to paper.
Well, yeah, we also went from serious to funny, and we ended up at wholesome.
Mm-hmm.
Is where, I mean, so we changed genres 3 times.
Yeah.
We kept it in the same setting, and then something else that occurred to me while we were talking was that we made I don't know if it was conscious, but we made a change between where we were at last time and where we were at this time. So it felt like a lot more like sci-fi and in space. It was like there was a lot more, I guess, slower idea generation. And it felt like, I don't know, the entire atmosphere around our creation was different than it was for our fantasy setting, which I think is really cool.
Yeah. I feel like fantasy is just or sci-fi is just such a big genre already that to nail down like what you're trying to hit sometimes can be tough. And I think we're both coming from these giant spaces of sci-fi, and then we're coming down to like, okay, this is going to be like our middle ground on where we can actually start creating, where fantasy is very much like there's already kind of that middle ground.
Yeah. I think it's cool. Like, obviously, you can tell when you're listening that you can manipulate the process a little bit and say like, okay, well, I'll keep the ideas that are funny because I'm trying to be humorous, or I can toss out this idea because it's stereotypically funny. But I don't feel like either one of us was doing that, and we arrived at something pretty unique, right? And so it's like you can do either or, I'm sure there's a billion shades in between too. But
so last question before we start wrapping up.
Yes, sir. Yeah, wait, let me do the camera angle on you for the folks on Spotify. Let's get a close up.
Where is our stowaway, and why are they on the ship?
Oh, shit! I forgot about the stowaway.
I did too.
And that's the thing about stowaways. You never know they're around. So I think the stowaway. I don't know. So like, let's maybe modify what is possessing the captain. Let's say that there's like this little alien couple, and it's like one of them is living in the walls of the ship, and that's the stowaway, and the other one is living in the captain.
Oh my god!
And it's sort of been so difficult for him to become human that he's advised his mate to not do it. So they're like living in the walls of the ship until they can get this figured out.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's my first idea. What do you think?
I like it. I really enjoy that humorous aspect of being like, don't do it. Their body is weird. They have a smell, and then they bring decomposing dead ones on here. Their smell is awful. Like they're just terrible.
And all they do is complain, and it's like you have also like these really wholesome moments built in where it's like you have this oddball captain. I feel like oddball characters get really irritating after a while. They just like naturally, the longer the show or story goes on, you're like, okay, this is getting old. But it's like you have these wholesome moments that to contrast that with and keep people invested. Of like maybe the face of the captain opens when he's alone in his chamber, and then this little thing in the wall opens, and then he has this really like beautiful moment with his mate, it's like they're catching up, how was your day kind of deal, bringing you food, like whatever.
Or it's like they come, I mean that too, and like they're coming from like this advanced civilization, so like all the wholesome stuff that we're talking about, they're like, I don't get it. I don't understand. They're traveling through the chutes of, they're just wasting their time. Like I don't understand. Why are they eating so much food? Don't they know that that's too much food to eat? Like just like not getting at all like any of it.
I like it. I like the surprise of the stowaway that we told everybody we were gonna do, and we decided we were gonna do, and it surprised us at the end.
Yep, sure did.
Thanks for taking that note.
Yeah.
Well, to creative thinkers all across the globe, thank you so much for tuning in for another episode here in March, where we are doing World Creation Month. And we're just so thrilled to have you guys along. Check out anchor.fm/CRTVTHNKR to support the channel. Help us continue to make these improvements. I mean, you can tell if you're watching on Spotify how much better this has gotten, even since we started doing videos, because, again, of the people who support the channel. So just thank you guys so much. Keep us rocking and rolling, and we'll do the same for you. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.